You're watching CBC News Network, and we're going to show you a number of live shots from New York City, Midtown Manhattan, as the bomb disposal truck arrives at what is a major U.S. postal facility in Midtown. Looking at this, as we can tell you, a 12th suspicious device has been located this morning. Now, this scene played out yesterday, and John Northcott was here in studio hosting all through the day. So, John, you've seen this for hours yesterday as well. Let's go most recent, and then we'll work back to the 11th, because we're talking 12 now. What do we know about this 12th?
Well, this is, they understand, a package that is addressed to James Clapper. Now, he's the former U.S. National Security Advisor. He was appointed under Obama after a long career in military and intelligence. He has subsequently left that post and has become, as have all the other addressees of these supposed pipe bombs, been a critic of U.S. President Donald Trump. So this is, again, a sorting station. What we saw previously in New York, of course, was in Tribeca, the restaurant and film festival of Robert De Niro in the southwest part of the city, then the CNN headquarters there. This is the postal station that would then send the package to the CNN headquarters, and we believe that, as was in the case of John Brennan, as a frequent guest on CNN, that is whoever this individual is, chose to address the package there because that was an available address they could send that to. Because that's what we're looking at here in New York.
To John Brennan, but to CNN's address. This postal
Same thing
station,
with James Clapper.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and this was it was postal workers who again located the suspicious package. It's interesting. You see, they've evacuated all of this area, shut it down. You see the stretchers there just in case anything should happen. But again, neither of these has detonated, as none of the other devices have to this point, thankfully. That's
right. The FBI are being very careful about saying whether they have perhaps detonated them somewhere else. But of course, there's a potential for tremendous amount of evidence, either through DNA or postmarks and all of this. So there's an incentive for them to preserve them. And then there may even be a question whether they are active or not. Some have looked at them and said there isn't a secondary device that would trigger them. Still, they look like a bomb, and they create the same kind of chaos that a bomb would.
And many of them are already now in Virginia at the FBI headquarters in Quantico, being assessed minutely for any forensic evidence. Now, that is device number 12. Let's go back and we'll show you some scenes from Florida from just a few minutes ago. This is the postal sorting facility that was the focus yesterday, really, in Opa-locka. And that is where device package number 11 was discovered earlier. Senator Cory Booker.
Yeah, Cory Booker, he's 49 years old, born in Washington, D.C., grew up in New Jersey, and someone who has become, in the minds of many, a potential presidential candidate in the 2020 race. You might remember him speaking at the Brett Kavanaugh hearings very passionately. He is African-American. He is a former mayor and has been a senator now for a number of years. Again, we add to the list someone who has been a critic of the president and has been criticized by the president in all of this. That postal station, as you say, has become the epicenter for many of these because of the fact that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the former senior Democratic official, that was the return address. Of course, nothing to do with her.
She lives near
there,
her Florida residence.
Yeah, exactly. So that is how they sort of bounced back to this postal facility. I can tell you, yesterday, all the mail trucks were taken to a separate facility, and I don't even know if they have returned yet because it's such a center of all this activity.
Okay, so this is 11th device here to Senator Cory Booker, the 12th, the scene going on right now in New York to James Clapper via the CNN address. Clapper himself on the phone to CNN. We've heard from him.
Yeah, readily available to CNN.
Yes.
No surprise there. A situation where the comments being made around this about the tone that has been set by the U.S. president. As we keep saying, these people have been critics of the president, and he in turn has criticized them. James Clapper, no stranger to that, breaking with his manner all the way through as a national security advisor, not someone who would criticize the president, someone who has now criticized the president, has written a book about it. But let's listen to his language as he discuss what the president has had to say.
Have been a lot more appropriate, a lot more sincere, had he actually named the targets and said something reassuring to them. And as well, I thought it was, and I'm sure it was intentional, not even to mention CNN. And this, an assault on one of our most important institutions in this country, which is a free press.
So those comments there. Of course, the president tweeting out early this morning, more comments about this, initially seeming to condemn someone who would send devices like this to any public figure, to any figure, but then immediately turning around and saying it's the press, they haven't got it right, they exaggerate, etc. And the words there for James Clapper to say at a time like this, why would the president inflame that? And why would the president not contact any of these public figures who have been the subject of these attacks?
This has been one of the big questions. And as James Clapper was saying, hasn't named them publicly, despite the fact there are two former presidents, people who held his office, the one he holds presently, on this list, now 12 people, has not called them to offer any information or any concern, any expression of that. Clapper also saying on CNN that suspicious packages will not silence Donald Trump's critics. Robert De Niro's just put out a statement as well, John. CNN is carrying that. I thank God no one's been hurt, and I thank the brave and resourceful security and law enforcement people for protecting us. There's something more powerful than bombs, and that's your vote. People must vote. So that is Robert De Niro, who was targeted yesterday. Now let's take a look at this together, John, because CBS is now broadcasting this, and we can as well. This is the package to James Robert Clapper, and there you see Time Warner, CNN on Columbus Circle, and again, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the return address, John.
Yes, the misspelled name of Debbie Wasserman Schultz as well. Yeah.
6 stamps, this bubble wrap, all very similar. They've all looked very similar, going right back to the first one on Monday, to billionaire philanthropist, Democratic donor George Soros. John, you're going to be on this story, I know, so we'll leave it at this for now. Thank you very much for the update. Watching all the live. Again, this is New York, the bomb disposal truck on the scene. This is CBC News Network.